said so. Without y'all
would be nothing. Yes, the Heisman watch, ladies and gentlemen. There's a number of guys on the list. The number of guys that people have been talking about. You know, some people have jumped up, some people have fallen down. Right now, you have the normal people on the list. You got the Hendon Hookers that we've all seen, the Bryce Youngs, you know, the CJ Strouds, the obvious front runners. But then you got some guys that maybe we haven't been talking about, the Max Duggans, you know, Bo Nix, who with this injury, you know, that'll definitely drop him a little bit. Tar Heel Nation, Drake May, definitely getting some love. Your running back,
Blake Corum's in there,
balling. You know, what are your thoughts, man? Like, where are you at right now, and how much do these losses play a factor in your pick?
These losses are gonna matter tenfold in this because you've got some big time games left. Now, how, like, for me, while these losses matter, the LSU loss for Alabama doesn't matter as much for Bryce Young because he still looked electric in that game. He was still absolutely insane. I was saying after that game that if they found a way to win that game, that touchdown that he escaped and threw that touchdown late in the game, that was his Heisman moment for me. I would have locked it away that it was his. But we haven't seen enough from really anyone to pull away because we had Hendon Hooker that was kind of running away, and then he looked bad against Georgia. Now, I mean, everyone looks bad against Georgia, so take that one with a grain of salt. You've had great moments from CJ Stroud, but then he couldn't throw the ball against Northwestern. And I know it was windy, but you still got to show up and do what you do. Bryce Young has been hit and miss in some games. Like, to me, some of these guys that are crawling their way in, like Drake May and Corum and some of these next-year guys, even Bo Nix, Caleb Williams is still in that discussion too. A lot of these guys, to me, have better resumes than the guys up top.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see because as far as I'm concerned right now, it is wide open with 2 weeks to go, which does not happen.
Right. And like you said, outside of Bryce Young, who has it? Who has the moment that makes you look back, even with TCU and Max Duggan? You know what I mean? Almost 3,000 total yards, but there's nothing I can really stick my finger on and say that moment. That's the one that made me think. To me, he's still an underdog. He's still one of these guys that's under the radar because, yes, he's getting the job done, but it's a team win. You know what I mean? How much of that is really on him?
And you compare that to, like, Drake May for you guys, that comeback against Appalachian State where he started it.
Yeah.
He was the one that kicked that into gear. To me, that's a Heisman moment.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, Corum with these long runs and just tearing defenses apart. Those are Heisman moments. That touchdown for Bryce Young, like I said, that's a Heisman moment. Stroud hasn't really had one yet. Now he's got big platform against us to do so.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Caleb Williams has some big-time games here. So, like, some of these guys have their chance to still have that Heisman moment. I think it might be a little too late for Hendon Hooker, although that Alabama game could be his. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Now, is this going to be predicated on just the record? Are we looking at a you know the Alabama teams are up there, but obviously Ohio State and Stroud, obviously, you got Hendon Hooker in there, but like these top quarterbacks, or even Blake Corum, Michigan, I can see him jumping in. It's just like a year ago where Aiden Hutchinson, yes, he was definitely by far the best defensive and best defensive player a year ago, but having him jump in definitely was aided by the fact that the team beat Ohio State. The team was undefeated. They won the Big Ten championship.
I mean, the 15 sacks, and like, he had the numbers to back it up. But yeah, the fact that Michigan was so good last year definitely aided that. Yeah.
So how much does that play in? I mean, does that elevate a Max Duggan if they go undefeated? You know what I mean?
Depends how these next two games go for them, or three games essentially, because they got Baylor. I can't remember who they have next week, and then the conference championship game against someone like Oklahoma State. If he goes and just absolutely balls out, then I think he's got to be in that Final Four in New York.
Yeah.
Because record matters, but it's what you do with that record.
Yeah.
That's why I say the Bryce Young LSU loss doesn't hurt as much. The Caleb Williams Utah loss doesn't hurt as much because he still played very well. So it's, if you lose, you better look damn good doing it.
Yeah.
And if you win, you better be the reason why. And Max Duggan and that offense is the reason why TCU keeps winning.
Right.
So that's what's keeping him in that conversation. He's been very good all year, and the numbers back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely the what stirs that drink. He's definitely the straw that stirs the drink. But and look, if we want to look at it number wise, like I said, almost 4,000 total yards, almost 40 TDs. Drake May is definitely leading the pack as far as numbers. But I wonder, and I'm not gonna, I love North Carolina. I mean, you see what I'm wearing, and I don't want to appear biased. What are the realistic shots for Drake May to get in there? I mean, does he has to get to the Final Four, or one loss is it done for him?
That's tough because you know me, I've been on that Drake May bandwagon all year. Like he's one of my favorite players to watch this year. So I'm the person that's saying he should be in there already.
Right.
I had him like week 5, week 6. He was in my top 5. So
that's right.
To me, this is a guy that should be getting more respect than he is.
Yeah.
And especially with some of these top guys not showing as much. Like to me, realistically, my top 5 in no particular order, I would go all these guys that have had their moments. You go Bryce Young, you go Caleb Williams, Drake May, Blake Corum, and Max Duggan. CJ Stroud falls just outside for me, and that's not a shot at Ohio State. It's just, if you're looking at what the Heisman's been, he hasn't shown me anything for that.
Right.
I still think he's the best quarterback in the country, CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Like, I've got mad respect for that guy. It's just when it comes to the Heisman, I don't think he's done enough.
And I think it's gonna really be interesting to see how he is able to move that offense with the recent injuries to some of their running backs. We know how that running game is, and a lot of people have talked about, a lot of people are going back to last year. Oh, well, the issue that Ohio State had against Michigan was the weather, and they couldn't play in the weather and this and that. And so one of the things that I've seen them do this year, they've been running the ball. They've been dedicating to that. So they're building up. But I mean, look, to your point, man, and a name that we didn't mention before that you mentioned, Caleb Williams. Yeah. He's in that conversation. And, for them, the best player on one of the best teams. I mean, he can do it. But here's another one. And this is why I say, and Colin, I see you up here. This is why I say, does it have to do with team success? Stetson Bennett. His numbers are not on top of these Heisman lists. His numbers aren't top tier. But if you're talking about a man that has complete control of that offense and complete control of that team, that's him 100%. He's had the moment shutting down certain, like the Tennessees. Maybe winning the SEC championship will be that second moment for him. But, I mean, how much weight can you put in an argument for Stetson Bennett?
So, with the argument I made earlier on the record, if you win, you better be the reason why. You could make the argument that he's not the straw that stirs that drink. It's Brock Bowers or McConkey or some of these other guys.
Yeah.
So I think having such big-time weapons, and for me, that's the same thing with Stroud, is Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy that everyone's talking about on that offense right now. So I think that actually hurts Stroud a little bit because to me, Harrison Jr. right now is the number 1 receiver in the country. And I hate saying they got the best quarterback and best receiver, but that's what it looks like right now. So
I know that pains you, man. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. I just hope they don't look like it next week. That's all I want.
There it is.
But yeah, I think for Stetson, and he's another guy that I love watching because he's a typical guy that, I mean, I love the whole calling everyone back to prank call him and all that. Like
Yeah.
getting what's yours. I absolutely love that.
That was balling. When he went out here in the end zone, it was like, call me now. Call me now. Let's go.
You look at it, he's the kind of guy that I would consider that Tennessee game his Heisman moment.
Absolutely.
He went there and made, and I was just about to say this call. He's made some big time plays in big time games.
Absolutely.
So I just think, playing devil's advocate, I think you're going to look at Brock Bowers, you're going to look at McConkey, you're going to look at everyone else on that offense. And I mean, unfortunately, too many people hate on Stetson already. I think he deserves way more credit than he gets.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just, I think that's what's going to push him out.
Yeah. And for some of these teams, like a Caleb Williams, like a Stetson Bennett, I think the more balanced your team is, the less credit you get. And it's a shame because Stetson is the one the straw that stirs the drink. But at the same time, that defense is great. The receivers are great. Bowers, the running game is getting going. You know what I mean? And there have been games, that Kent State game, the Mizzou game. There have been games, even the last one, Stetson threw, or not the last one, a couple weeks ago, Stetson threw a couple interceptions, had a fumble. So there have been little mishaps, this and that, but the team definitely follows him. But the balance, the fact that you have, pick your poison almost. Yeah, I think might work a little bit in against him. So we will see. You said, repeat your 5 again.
So in no particular order, I've got Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Blake Corum, Max Duggan.
Oh, I like that.
All 5 guys that have had moments.
Yeah,
you can make solid arguments there. The reason they've won games, or if they've lost games in the case of Drake May and Bryce Young, they weren't the reason they lost. They were the reason they were still in those games. So
exactly.
Yeah, to me that's my 5, and I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but that's mine.
No, I get it. Yeah. So for me, same in no particular order. Definitely Bryce Young. Got to throw in my guy Drake May, Caleb Williams, especially if they are able to pull it out. CJ, because he's up there, and I will put in Stetson because the number 1 quarterback on the best team, continually winning. You got to go all the way back to last year. I mean, he's undefeated in the last 2 years. You know what I mean? I think that should mean something. And we'll see if the Heisman voters think the same thing. But that's my 5 at the moment.
The one thing people have to remember is the Heisman is not the MVP award.
True.
That is their Maxwell award.
Yeah.
So I think someone like Stetson should be more a front runner for that, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Heisman, I don't think there's really a comparison for what the Heisman is.
Yeah.
This is
the best.
Essentially the most electrifying player, the top player with the biggest moments that didn't really have those down moments.
Right.
So it's unlike any other award in any sport that I can think of, honestly.
Oh, and that's why we love it. That's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
All great points would be great thing to add to Stetson's story. Yeah. Look, Stetson's making enough of a case for him. I mean, if you would have asked me a year ago if this guy would even been drafted, I would have given you a long pause and looked at you kind of funny. Now, I mean, I could see this dude being a third, maybe 4th rounder. I mean, you get him on the right team, maybe even late 2nd. Yeah. I mean, the guy is quality. He's played with solid team, and he's played a number of big games in the last several years. He's bounced back from adversity, and he was a walk-on. You got to shout this guy out. But to your point, you're absolutely right. The Heisman is like no other, and it literally is the most electrifying. And that's why we talk so much about the Heisman moment. You know what I mean? What's that thing that you remember? To this day, everybody can go back to that hat on your head and remember a little guy, number 21, who returns a punt against the arch rival and then hits him with the Heisman.
Or even Charles Woodson, like everything he was doing.
Right. I mean, it's just not you just know. You just know by these certain moments of these certain guys, the electrifying, everything like that. So
you look and you just say, that's it.
That's him. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, so ladies and gentlemen, we're here. We're coming to the end. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us. We know the games are 10 minutes away, so we're not going to hold you that long, but we're gutsy, and we're going for 2. Yeah, buddy. Alex, I'm gonna let you answer this one right quick. Are there set points? Are there a set of points that are looked at for the Heisman consideration?
That's an interesting question because I don't know if there necessarily is. I mean, everyone looks at, like, when we're debating Heisman, it's okay, look at these big time games. What did they do in those big time games? Do they have that memorable play? Do they, like we said, Desmond Howard with the return and that Heisman pose? You've got Joe Burrow with those touchdown passes in that Alabama game. You've got Devonta Smith with all those deep touchdowns. Like, you've got memorable moments that we can look back to for Heisman winners for the last few decades.
Yeah,
that everyone still remembers. So I think that is the main thing. Is obviously you got to handle your business. The Heisman never goes to some 3-4 loss team. It's always been one of these teams up at the top. So handle your business and just be electrifying. Honestly, be somebody that people are talking about.
Absolutely. Yo,
thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.